Yeah, I think well, it's not just protecting Luka. He's got to participate. He's got to play defense. It's there's no secret. They're going to put him in every pick and roll. They did the same thing with Dirk. So Dirk participated and stuck up for himself. You know, you can always ask for help, but you got to participate. And Luka's has done that for us in this journey. And so he's going to have to do it tonight. He's going to have to, defend. And again, if they score, they score, but we don't want it to be on their terms, and so that's the first step. And then the other thing is teammates have to do a better job of helping them.
Can the Dallas Mavericks defend home court as they take on the Phoenix Suns? And Jason Kidd publicly challenges Luka Doncic to play the defense desperately needed to stop the Phoenix Suns. This is Inside the Mavs right here on Kevin Gray Sports. My name is Kevin Gray. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to hit that subscribe button right there for all of these Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. And you can catch me on your home of the Dallas Cowboys and Texas Rangers, 105.3 The Fan. Jason Kidd publicly challenges Luka Doncic to play the defense necessary to beat the Phoenix Suns, not just in Game 3, but going forward for the rest of this series. The Dallas Mavericks play Game 3 at the American Airlines Center, then Game 4 on Sunday as they try to climb back into the series as they are down 2-0, as they try to not only get back into the series but find a way to extend this series going forward after the Phoenix Suns dominated the first two matchups, especially in the fourth quarter of Game 2 that saw Chris Paul and Devin Booker go absolutely bananas on this Dallas Mavericks defense. A big part of that out of that conversation was the fact that Luka Doncic, who was put into pick and roll situations constantly in that fourth quarter, was picked on repeatedly by Chris Paul. Chris Paul scored or assisted on the first 19 points of that fourth quarter in game number 2. Luka Doncic, when he was put into screen and roll situations 19 times in game 2, averaged giving up 1.81 points per possession. That just gives you an idea of how dominant the Phoenix Suns were, averaging nearly 2 points per possession every time they put Luka Doncic in the screen and roll as the defender. That can't happen in games 3 and 4 going forward for the Dallas Mavericks. They have got to find a way to not only help protect Luka when it comes to being put in screen and roll situations, but Luka Doncic's defense individually has to be much better. Fighting through screens, fighting over the top or underneath screens, being able to use some of his physicality and strength to bother guys like Chris Paul and Devin Booker. You've seen what the Dallas Mavericks have tried to do defensively. Try to put Reggie Bullock on Chris Paul to try and bother him with length. Dorian Finney-Smith trying to do the best job that he can on a guy like Devin Booker who can get his shot anywhere on the floor. Unfortunately, foul trouble at times for Dorian Finney-Smith has really caused this team not to be in the kind of rhythm rotationally on offense and defense that allows Dorian Finney-Smith to have the kind of floor time needed to be able to bother a guy like Devin Booker. But obviously for Luka Doncic, who has averaged 40 points a game so far in the first 2 games of this series, the defensive effort that he showed in game number 2 wasn't nearly up to the standard that he or the Mavericks expect out of him. Now, again, Luka Doncic is not going to be a great defender ever in his career, but his willingness to defend and be much better on that defensive end of the floor, we've seen throughout the course of this season. That didn't necessarily show up in game number 2 as Chris Paul continuously hunted Luka Doncic when it came to screen and roll and pick and roll situations, and Chris Paul using his speed and his quickness to get by Luka Doncic, not only to create for himself but create for others, as I mentioned, scoring or assisting on the first 19 points of the fourth quarter in game number 2. Here is Jason Kidd talking about what he needs to do after I asked him, how in the world do you protect Luka Doncic when it comes to the defense and on the offensive end with Chris Paul hunting him in pick and roll and screen and roll matchups? Here's what Jason Kidd told me.
Yeah, I think well, it's not just protecting Luka. He's got to participate. He's got to play defense. There's no secret. They're going to put him in every pick and roll. They did the same thing with Dirk until Dirk participated and stuck up for himself. You can always ask for help, but you got to participate. And Luka's has done that for us in this journey. And so he's going to have to do it tonight. He's going to have to, defend. Again, if they score, they score, but we don't want it to be on their terms. And so that's the first step. And then the other thing is teammates have to do a better job of helping them.
So Jason Kidd saying, look, he's got to play defense. He's got to participate on the defensive end. The way that the Phoenix Suns have shot the ball so far in this series has been absolutely incredible. They shot a franchise record 65% from the field in Game 2 alone, and they've shot over 50% in each of their first 8 playoff games so far in this postseason. It's not like the Dallas Mavericks offensively are playing bad. It's just they're playing that much worse on the defensive end. We know the kinds of players that they have when it comes to DeAndre Ayton, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and what they're trying to do offensively against the Dallas Mavericks. They've got to be much better, though, in terms of their sound communication, rotations, and they should not necessarily be bothered by the noise and the crowd that they were dealing with in Phoenix. The home crowd should be in it for the Mavericks in games 3 and 4, but more importantly, you've got to find a way to get more physical with this Phoenix Suns team, be able to bother them with the kind of defensive pressure, picking up Chris Paul full court, as we saw Reggie Bullock start to do as far as this series was concerned. There are things that the Mavericks can do to try and slow down Devin Booker and Chris Paul, using physicality, trying to make things difficult for them, especially when it comes to their mid-range. We know how devastatingly good the Phoenix Suns are when it comes to hitting mid-range jumpers and long twos, especially being the best team to do it in the NBA this year, and that's continued so far in this series. But you've got to find a way to create deflections, get your hands into passing lanes, try to disrupt the offensive rhythm of the Phoenix Suns. If you can do that, you can find yourself shortening possessions, getting defensive rebounds to close out possessions, one and done for the Phoenix Suns, and not allowing them offensive rebound opportunities with guys like DeAndre Ayton and JaVale McGee to extend possessions for the Phoenix Suns to be able to get that kind of offense and continue to hunt the matchups that they're looking for. Obviously, that's been the story and the calling card for this team all season long for the Mavericks has been on the defensive end. Will that defense show up in the most critical moments of this series to give them an opportunity to stay in basketball games? And then conversely, offensively, where is Spencer Dinwiddie? Where is Jalen Brunson? Where are the stars, especially in Jalen Brunson's case, that we saw in the first series against Utah? When will that Jalen Brunson show up in this series? As good as he was in the Utah series, he's been just as bad in this series. The length, the physicality of the Phoenix Suns has bothered Jalen Brunson, and you can see it with the amount of bodies and defenders that they can throw at him, whether it be Jay Crowder, whether it be Mikal Bridges, Devin Booker taking turns on him at times as well. This Jalen Brunson that we saw in the Utah series has to reintroduce himself in this series against the Phoenix Suns. Otherwise, this thing could be over by the next time you and I talk here on Inside the Mavs. That is how critical, obviously, Game 3 is. A must-win situation for them, but more importantly, their superstar has to set the tone on the defensive end, and clearly that is what Jason Kidd wants out of Luka Doncic and his ability to not only impact the game offensively, but more importantly, defensively, to try and somewhat slow down the Phoenix Suns in their offense. You're not going to stop Devin Booker, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton. You're not going to stop them. You can hope to contain them better to where they're not having the kinds of easy baskets and what you heard Jason Kidd say, getting baskets on their own terms. Making things difficult for them has to be the name of the game for the Mavericks going into game number 3 and 4. How difficult you can make shots on Chris Paul and on Devin Booker will dictate in a lot of ways how this team can be able to operate on the defensive end. And then when you have those opportunities to get out in transition, make those things happen to get yourself some easy buckets to put pressure on Phoenix defensively to have to guard you and to get out and defend in transition. It's obviously an uphill climb for the Dallas Mavericks to be able to get back in this series. The talent disparity we know is vast between these two teams. The Phoenix Suns were the only team in the regular season to win over 60 games, eight games clear of the next best team record-wise in the league this year. And we know that Chris Paul, in his history, and it is his 37th birthday on Game 3, that he has been 0-4 in his career when he's been up 2-0 in series. So if you're looking for an omen or some good luck, that's what best I could come up with, is that so far in his career when he's been up 2-0, Chris Paul has never won a series, including last year in the NBA Finals when they were up 2-0 on the Milwaukee Bucks, and we all know what happened in the final 4 games of that series. Will that happen in this series? I don't necessarily think so. But in order for the Mavericks to give themselves the best chance for that to happen, they have got to find a way to win game number 3 and then somehow get this series tied. Phoenix did what they had to do in games 1 and 2. They protected home court. They shot the ball extremely well, defended well at times, but more importantly, they found a way to win, and more importantly, they dominated on their own home floor. The Mavericks have got to do the same. Otherwise, this thing could be over by the time you and I talk next. And that's not what you want if you're a Mavericks fan, obviously. So Jason Kidd calling out his superstar to be better on the defensive end, challenging not just him, but the rest of his teammates to not only help protect Luka, but be better as a whole together defensively. Whether you see some zone, whether you see some creative things defensively, the Mavericks have got to find a way to slow down this terrific offense for the Phoenix Suns. Otherwise, this series could be over in short order. The Dallas Mavericks take on the Phoenix Suns in games 3 and 4. We'll see if the Mavericks can find a way to continue to not only shoot the ball well, which they've done pretty well so far in this series, but more importantly, can they turn up the defensive pressure, introduce a measure of physicality, and a way to finally slow down Devin Booker and Chris Paul. If they can, they can climb themselves back into this series. If not, and Phoenix continues the devastating shot making that was seen through the first 2 games of this series could be over very soon. But we'll see if the Mavericks can get themselves back on track. They are at home for games 3 and 4. Game 3 is a must-win for them. Luka Doncic and his defense being called out by Jason Kidd is going to be important going forward. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to hit that subscribe button right there for all things Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. It's been another episode of Inside the Mavs right here on Kevin Gray Sports. I'll talk to you later. Peace.